Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we're going to be talking about Ben Simmons, his future with the Philadelphia 76ers, and the discussions that they are apparently having on both sides. Rich Paul, the agent of Ben Simmons, and of course, the CEO of Clutch Sports, is having discussions with the Philadelphia 76ers front office about a possible trade and relocation of Ben Simmons. Of course, the 76ers did not get where they wanted to be this year. They were the number one seed, had a tough end to the season in a Game 7 loss where Ben Simmons just didn't look good that series. I believe he only shot one field goal attempt the entire series in the fourth quarter. That is absolutely brutal. You can't have your starting point guard do that. It just isn't exactly how the NBA is meant to work. It's not how basketball is made to work. Your point guard has to be, in today's NBA, a threat to score the basketball, a threat to get to the rim consistently, and a threat to shoot the ball from the outside. Ben Simmons just doesn't do any of those things. Now, I think Ben Simmons is a phenomenal player, and I want to talk a little bit about how I actually think his fit works in the NBA and what teams would be a phenomenal landing spot for him, as well as I have 3 trades cooked up that I think could make some sense for Ben Simmons' future. So we'll get into that. Before we jump into that part of the video, though, I just want you guys to hit that subscribe button. We've got an NBA mock draft coming out slightly after this video. So there's going to be a lot for you guys to catch up on here at Utility Sports, a lot of premium content we want you guys seeing. Hit that like button on today's video as well if you enjoyed. That lets us know that we are posting good content that you guys are enjoying watching. It means a lot to us. So now talking about Ben Simmons as a player. You know, everyone wants to make him work as a point guard, and I think he's got point guard skills in terms of his passing vision, but I really think that he is actually meant to play the power forward position in today's NBA as someone who can sit dunker spot in the half-court offense, someone who's not going to be relegated to handling the ball out on the perimeter. Think Draymond Green a little bit. If Ben Simmons was put into a situation where he played a little bit more like Draymond Green, think about how much he could really impact the game in strictly positive ways. Right now, Ben Simmons is a liability when he has the ball out dribbling on the perimeter. He's not a threat. Teams know that, and they load up on other different ways to stop the Philadelphia 76ers offense. He struggles in the half court. He's arguably the best player in transition right now. When you look at transition offense, he's impossible to stop coming north-south when the game's playing at 94 feet pace. However, when the game slows down to the 47-foot half-court line, Ben Simmons becomes no longer a positive player, but in fact a negative player for the 76ers. And it doesn't help that their best player is an interior center, someone who's best with his back to the basket, scoring around the rim. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are just not a good fit together. Despite everything Doc Rivers said this year, he decided to sell out on Ben Simmons after the Game 7 loss, saying, I don't know if Ben Simmons is a point guard for a championship team, despite all year long being Ben Simmons' biggest fan. And this isn't the first time we've seen Doc Rivers sell out on his number 2 guy for a team he's been coaching. Paul George, of course, had the whole beef with Doc Rivers last year, and Doc Rivers has failed to make adjustments during the postseason many times here, loses to the Atlanta Hawks, and Ben Simmons being a big reason why. I'm not going to take the shade off Ben Simmons here because he does deserve a lot of the flack that he's been getting because he hasn't improved his jumper. He hasn't even been willing to take 3-point shots. And I think he's a guy who could actually hit them if he had the confidence to pull them. I've seen this guy live. I've seen him shooting pre-game. He rattled off 9-10 straight 3-pointers from the corner. He should be shooting those shots in the game, even if he's only hitting at a 30% clip. Teams are going to have to respect it a little bit more, and he becomes a slightly more playable player in the half court. But his unwillingness and inability to actually pull the trigger out of the corner 3-point pocket makes Ben Simmons a lot less playable come playoff time, especially when your best player is a center with the skill set that Joel Embiid has as a back to the basket scoring option. There's a few teams that I think are really good fits for Ben Simmons, and I think if he moved to a power forward position where, hey, he's going to dominate in the half or in transition, and he's going to be relegated as a cutter and dunker spot sitter in the half court, he could be a very good player, especially with how good he is defensively still. He's arguably the best defensive player in the NBA, extremely versatile, can guard the 1 through 5 on most nights. I think he's someone who still has real value around the league. I do think he's worth a max contract. I just don't think it's in Philadelphia anymore. I think a breakup between Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers is coming. So let's get into my first trade here, and it's to the Denver Nuggets here. I think that the Denver Nuggets are going to do with Ben Simmons what they wanted to do with Aaron Gordon here. They moved their first-round pick this year which I believe is pick 26. They move a lottery-protected 2027 first-round pick, as well as Monte Morris, Aaron Gordon, and JaMychal Green in this deal to land Ben Simmons. Now, of course, Nuggets fans, I know if you're watching this, this is a steep price to pay for Ben Simmons because you love Monte Morris, one of the best bench players in the league, top point guard coming off the bench there. Aaron Gordon, who you just traded for, he has to go out the door. And JaMychal Green, who has a player option, probably will opt into that $7.5 million, I would think. You send those out the door, as well as your first-round pick this year and a first-round pick down the road, but you're getting someone who you badly need. It was obvious that the Nuggets missed Jerami Grant this year, and you're bringing in someone who's a lot better than Jerami Grant on both ends of the floor. Jerami Grant, did emerge this year a little bit for the Pistons, but I think all in all, we have to acknowledge that Ben Simmons is a much better player than Jerami Grant. Defensively, Ben Simmons can guard nearly every position, does a lot on that end of the floor, very good hands, very good IQ, and very switchable. I think that the Nuggets badly need someone who can defend out on the perimeter the way Ben Simmons can. I think that he would hide a lot of the flaws, kind of like a Swiss Army knife for this Nuggets defense. He's a much better defender than Aaron Gordon, and I think he's still a better offensive player than Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, really started to master some of those cutting off ball for Nikola Jokic. Struggled in the playoffs. I'm not going to discredit that there, but Aaron Gordon was a nice fit. I think Ben Simmons just a much higher upgraded version of Aaron Gordon there. Of course, you move Monte Morris, which hurts, but you're getting someone else who has guard skills. This offense, especially when Jamal Murray's back, you don't need Monte Morris as bad. Facu Campazzo can be the backup point guard there. JaMychal Green is a throw-in here to make the money work. I don't think you guys would miss him too bad there in Denver. Nice floor spacer, but using your mid-level exception this year, you could find a way to replace JaMychal Green. This is a big-time upgrade, in my opinion, for the Nuggets. And for the 76ers, you're getting 2 first-round picks, which is pretty solid value still. Ben Simmons' value at this point is at an all-time low. You get Aaron Gordon, who I think could be a nice fit on this roster. Monte Morris is the big-time player for the Nuggets here, or for the 76ers, rather. He would become their starting point guard. I think he's better than Shake Milton easily, and I think he's someone that the 76ers could badly use to create some offense there, especially in the pick-and-roll game, something they don't really have. And I think that Monte Morris, JaMychal Green, Aaron Gordon would fit into this roster, and I think they'd be very competitive still while also accruing some assets. We'll see if Daryl Morey's able to make some moves. They would have then the 26th and 28th pick. They can probably make a trade to get out of those spots, maybe bring in a different star. This gives them some cap flexibility as well, and the Philadelphia 76ers would have a lot of different ways to make a Ben Simmons deal like this work. One of these other ways is a 3-team deal here with the Warriors and Magic. And this one's a little bit harder to envision at this point just because Kelly Oubre is on a cap hold right now. The Magic would have to work out a deal with him to get him to sign there with the Orlando Magic for a trade to really go down. But at this point, the Philadelphia 76ers would be sending out Ben Simmons to, yes, the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors then in turn would send Damian Lee and the 7th overall pick in this year's draft back to Philadelphia, as well as sending Kelly Oubre to Orlando. For money purposes, Michael Mulder, Alan Smilagic are 2 cap moves here. They give up $3.4 million of salary to make the money work here. 2022 second-round pick from Toronto, that goes out the door as well. All to bring in Ben Simmons, the 24-year-old point guard / power forward, someone who is extremely versatile, can do a lot of things on defense. Great assets for them. And like I said, you can compare it to Draymond Green. He's an upgraded Draymond Green at this point. He would fit perfectly into this Warriors roster. Now, I know that they need a little bit more spacing, a little bit more scoring help, but Ben Simmons gives you something completely different than what they have already in terms of his defensive ability out on the perimeter. They need a little bit more perimeter defense. Draymond Green does a lot underneath. As a help side defender, Ben Simmons could give you a big-time presence out on the perimeter. And then the Sixers also bring in Terrence Ross, Gary Harris here. Terrence Ross, the key player here, as well as the 7th overall pick. You have to be looking at this from the 76ers as, hey, this is pretty good value as well as a good fit into our roster. We get a bevy of guards. This Gary Harris situation gives us a little bit of roster flexibility, salary cap flexibility as well after next season. For the 76ers, I'm not sure if I love this deal, but I think it's a good enough deal where maybe they'd be willing to pull the trigger, especially if they feel they can hit with the 7th overall pick in a very guard-heavy class, that they're going to be able to add a very talented player at that point. Maybe someone like Keon Johnson, maybe someone like Davion Mitchell. There's a lot of talent out there. And then the final trade here I have cooked up, this is the one that I think a lot of people have been talking about, and it's Ben Simmons to the Portland Trailblazers, and in return, the Philadelphia 76ers get CJ McCollum, Nasir Little, and a 2022 second-round pick. I think this is the best deal for the 76ers. Now, my only concern is you're trading a 24-year-old for a 29-year-old, and you're only getting Nasir Little and a 2022 second-round pick back, and that's because Simmons' value is really low right now. A year ago, Simmons would have been worth way more than CJ McCollum, but after this past postseason failure, I think that the Sixers are hurting a little bit, and CJ McCollum would really come in, be a nice answer for them. However, you're trading some youth for some experience. However, that experience, I don't know if it fits necessarily, and I don't know if it's enough to put you over the top. If you're a 76ers fan, let me know what you want in return for Ben Simmons. And if you're a fan of another team, tell me what you'd be willing to give up from your team. So, for example, my Mavericks, I wouldn't want to give up Kristaps Porzingis for Ben Simmons at this point. I just think that that doesn't make a lot of sense from an X's and O's standpoint offensively for my Dallas Mavericks. I would love to hear what you guys would be willing to give up, though, from your team. Thanks again, guys, so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a thumbs up, and we'll catch you in the very next one.